Hi, this is Isabel Litzler, the place to be to develop your skills and grow your potential. So today I wanted to make a video based on a study that was done about the most attractive employers in the world. So there was a previous study done for Switzerland. What are the most attractive employers in Switzerland? So I found the same study, but for global international companies, what are some of the most attractive companies in the world? So I will have the listings below that I've typed, so you can actually take a look at these companies. I will give you a few tips on how to approach your search and how to deal with those companies. So the first thing that was of interest in this study to note is that Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon are the big winners of 2020. So they're the most wanted across the board in all types of fields of work. They're the most in-demand type of employers. So if you work for a company right now in the field of branding, whether it's employer branding or anything like that, communications, marketing, maybe that's some food for thought for you. Why are these organizations number one? Maybe there's some things to be learned about how they communicate and what do they do. So again, it's Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. Those are the top three most wanted by students, most attractive employers in the world in 2020. So that was interesting to know, just again as a benchmark. And the second thing that was interesting in this study is about office culture. There's definitely, and that's also due to the crisis, the workplace is going to be a bit different. There might be some hybrid type of things like work from home and work from the office more and more in the next years to come. So more employment flexibility for sure, maybe more part-time, more also consultants potentially. So definitely the way we look at office work is merging also a little bit with personal lives. As you work from home, for example, obviously your personal and your public life, I would say, are a bit merged. So that's definitely a trend that's going to accelerate. So it's interesting if you're a company or if you work for a company to also take that into perspective. Are you really attractive as a company for these people who are going into the workforce in terms of what you offer, in terms of this flexibility, and also an attractive workplace in general for people coming to work for you. What I also thought interesting, what are some of these, so that's my first tip really after the introduction. So what are some of the ideal employer attributes that students ranked very high? So number one is the future earnings, of course, 47%. So what are going to be the earnings when you start working for this company? So salary still remains a big decision-making point. Number two, friendly work environment. So I would add to that probably also flex work environment. So that's number two. Number three is secure employment. So in a time when things are a little bit uneasy, people will always prioritize a permanent contract, for example. That could be a good selling point if you want to recruit. Number four is professional training and development. So are you offering now in your company training to your staff? Especially right now, that's good that people know that they can further their training so that they can stay employable, all that stuff. Number five, market success. So again, we go back to the attractiveness of the organization. If you're perceived as being successful as a company, you're going to attract employees a bit more. So we're definitely into employer branding there. Respect for its people, number six. So that's going to be how you're treated as a staff, and especially how you're welcomed. So the whole welcoming and integrating the new hires is going to be important. A creative and dynamic workforce. So that's also a little bit, I would say, linked to having flexible arrangements and also the opportunity to maybe work when you're the most creative. For some people, it could be mornings, others it's in the evenings, etc. Competitive base salary, so I won't get into that. That's also linked to future earnings, also to some extent salary remuneration. Encouraging work-life balance, so that's linked to the private and business life. Merging together is definitely a trend. And finally, good reference for future career. I talk about this a lot, especially when you're younger. Go for big names because that's going to increase your market potential. You're going to be a no-brainer for recruitment. So if you work for some of those organizations that I've listed below, your resume will sell itself. Whereas if you work for unknown entities, it's going to be tougher to attract new employment opportunities, which I explain in my tutorial that you can find below on the Swiss Job Challenge. Is I explain all my path, and I chose to work for big companies in the first part of my career so that I was always attractive for upcoming opportunities. So definitely first part of your career, you do want to go for organizations that have a name, a reputation, where you can learn also the ropes. And then it's easier to sell your profile than if you go for a startup, for example, where because it's an unknown startup, it's going to be hard to show what you did and why was that important, etc., etc. So always pick something that is going to sell itself. So that's for the ideal employer attributes. So I don't want to tell you here the 50 top employers. You can find that below. You can read it. But I wanted to give you the top 5 based on the field that you work in. So if you're a business student, these were the top 5 companies that were the most attractive. Number 1, no surprise, is Google. Number 2, Apple. Number 3, Microsoft. Number 4, Amazon. And number 5, Deloitte. So those are the top five most wanted employers for students worldwide. Now for IT and engineering, it's slightly different. The top 5. Top 1 is still Google. Number 2, Microsoft. Number 3, Apple. Number 4, BMW. And number 5, Amazon. So very similar with 1 or 2 changes there. So these were the top 5. So that gives you an idea. If you want to position yourself, that gives you an idea of what to do and where to go. So now I wanted to give you also, as part of my conclusions, what to do then in terms of positioning yourself. So now that you have the names of the most wanted companies, well, how do you prepare yourself? Well, you want to do your bucket list of your favorite companies. So maybe they're the top 5 that I just discussed. Maybe there are other ones. But once you have that in mind, then what you want to do is start following them on social media, understand their news, understand what's going on. You know, are they changing direction? Are they merging? Just make sure you follow the news on them and that you become fully aware of what's going on within these organizations. So that's the first thing you need to do, is become familiar with your target market. And that's usually the missing links for a lot of people who try to apply for those big organizations. Obviously, they're going to be very picky because they know that they are extremely attractive. So they also want the most attractive employees. So it goes both ways. So you need to become this employee of choice so that you attract them. So you need to work on your profile. I have tons of videos on that, on how to work on your resume and your cover letter and your marketing and your networking and so forth, so that you become this employee of choice. And what you want to do to prepare yourself is follow them, make sure you're well aware of what they do, and then you want to see what do you have to bring to them. You know, do you have the right skills? So you can see this by looking at their careers. So when you go into the career section, you will find the job descriptions. You know, how do you match in terms of job descriptions? I hear a lot of employers tell me, you know, people apply, but they don't match our criteria. So you need to see, you know, are you 100%? Are you 50% or less? If you're less than 50%, I would say probably you need to do a different degree or you need more experience. But the sooner you know how you fare to your top wanted employers, you can fix it. So if you studied the right field and you're prepared, then you need maybe a bit more knowledge of the market and understand what's going on within these companies. But sometimes you need both. You need the right degree and the knowledge of the organization. So it's a lot of things that you need to do right to be a top potential employee. It's the degree, it's the experience, and it's also the knowledge of what's going on within these organizations. So you can watch also my other videos, again, where I explain how to prepare yourself. I gave some tips, cover letter and resume. I will link that at the end of this video. So make sure you really prepare yourself. Just be aware these companies are going to be extremely difficult to enter. So you need to come prepared and have the perfect profile to enter those organizations. If you have any questions, feel free to post below. I will talk to you soon.